you. Thank you very much. Good evening. Hope you've had a good week. First of all, let me say happy 341st birthday to Nell Gwynn, the famous orange seller and strumpet. As an actress, she was so charismatic that the king made her his mistress, the playwright Dryden gave her all the best parts, and 17th Century Fox gave her a screen test. What a pity she couldn't be with us this evening. She's afraid of flying. But my company tonight are a distinguished collection, one half of a pair of famous brothers, one institution, and one member of a dynasty. I'm expecting a man who is joyfully rediscovered by each new generation, Mr. Frankie Howerd, and the recently selected Best British Film Actress, Miss Natasha Richardson. My first guest is one of broadcasting's most popular and influential figures. As a television executive, he was responsible for the introduction of colour TV and snooker. As a presenter, his infectious enthusiasm for his subject has helped to make his programmes the most popular in the history of the medium. Just for us, he has scaled volcanoes, swum with sharks, and frolicked with gorillas. Here is an indelible moment from his latest series involving a killer whale and an unlucky seal. One of the trials of life. Ladies and gentlemen, Sir David Attenborough. Well, that was certainly nature red in tooth and claw, wasn't it?
Yeah, indeed.
Were the cameramen in any danger there?
Yes, they're out of their minds. Mike Degree and Pete Atkins, two American cameramen, as it happened, some of the ace cameramen in their profession. And, I mean, we knew about what was happening down there, and we wondered who might film it. And Mike and Pete went down there to do so. And anybody in their right mind would think that you use a very long lens and stand way back on the beach. Not them. They actually decided off their own bat that the best way to film it was right on the beach and then eventually in the water, and it scared the living daylights out of me.
Your latest series bears your name, of course, but you weren't able to be everywhere all the time.
No. There were, what, 25-odd different cameramen filming, and at any one time there was probably 10 cameramen filming anywhere in the world, so you can't be in 10 places at the same time. And one goes to the places where one can be most useful. It isn't much use having a chap like me standing behind a cameraman saying, there it is, why don't you film it? Hey, film it, you know, go on. He would say, get out of it, you know.
All words to that effect.
All words to that effect. And who's to blame him? He's right. I mean, if you have a really great cameraman, like happily we have on Trials of Life, they have a kind of sixth sense about filming animals, you know. I mean, the curious, the difficult thing about animals when you're filming them is that not only do you have to have a pretty good idea what it is they're going to do, but you have to know that they're going to do it like a second before they do. Because you've edited film and I've edited film, and if you have a film shot which starts when the animal's already started, it's not much use to you. And they have to have a kind of sixth sense that means that they press the button just before the animal does its courtship. Wonderful. Wonderful. They're extraordinary people.
Due to you, of course, the wildernesses of the world are now seething with tourists.
Yes, and I don't know quite what to say about that, because to some degree, it's people like me, you know, who have made natural history films and travel films over the past 25 years, who've, as it were, encouraged this particular change in the world. And, of course, the fact that you can get there. But, I mean, 25 years ago, I went to a small island called Komodo in Indonesia, where I went there because there was the biggest lizard in the world, the so-called Komodo dragon. I mean, an immense and fabulous and extraordinary creature. When I went there, as I went over 55, 56, something like that, people in Java, which was the main capital, the main inhabited island of Indonesia, you said, we'd like to go to Komodo, and they said, where's Komodo? They don't know. And eventually, we only got to Komodo by hiring a little prow, which we subsequently discovered belonged to a gun runner, and the man was a pirate, and we had to send up all night. I don't know what with, because we didn't have any guns. We had a knife, that was all, and guarding our gear. I mean, really, sort of great adventure stuff. And eventually, we filmed this animal, and eventually we got back, and we got shipwrecked on a coral reef. We had, you know, we were becalmed for 5 days. And then eventually they had to turn out the Air Force to try and find us, and it was like really going to the back of beyond. Well, now there are package tours to Komodo, you see, and you all go and you all throw your sardine sandwiches to the, to the dragons, and something's gone. But I don't know what you say about that, because in a way, I contributed to that. Everybody, and why not? Everybody wants to go, and I was lucky, and I went. But it does mean that there are fewer and fewer places on Earth which are remote.
Yes, I was going to say, Zoo Quest is what you were talking about, your very first television trips. So where is left to explore?
Well, there are quite a lot of places in Central Asia. Tibet, Xinjiang, Mongolia. The trouble is, there's not much there.
Do you have an iron constitution? I'm thinking of all these travels and tropical diseases.
You get one or two. I mean, internal parasites, that sort of stuff.
Oh.
We once had to. I was once filming a ritual. It was a film about tribal life, and I filmed a ritual in West Africa, and the ritual involved the sacrifice of a goat, and it was part of the crucial things for a family, for an extended family. And we filmed all this, and it was a great privilege. Nobody had filmed it before. And at the end of it, the head of the family said, well, now we have a feast, of course. We eat the goat that was sacrificed. And I said, oh. And they said, and of course, you're very welcome. And the cameraman said, unfortunately, he said, I've got to go, you know, and polish the lenses. And I'd love to stay, you know, but I'm afraid, you know. And the recorder said, I've got to go and rewind, you know. So it was left to Joe, you see, to stay behind to take part in this feast. And when the feast started, the head said, we have special organs which have to go to certain people, and you, as the guest, have to have liver. Oh, I said, fine. See, so the liver was served up. Well, it was hot, but whether it was because it was cooked or whether it was just kind of fresh, I didn't know. Anyway, I ate that. Then about 2 months later, I was walking down Piccadilly, and I suddenly realized that I had got a little friend who had joined me and was now coming out into the world, like a tapeworm. Good Lord.
You mean?
Yeah, you mean. That's right. And so where do I go to? Oh, Lord. Well, I found somewhere to go to, and I was right, yes, that's what it was. So I went home, and I said to my doctor, I've got this, but unfortunately, I've got to go to Iran the following day. And he said, take these tablets. So I took these tablets, and then off I went to Iran. And thinking everything was fine, I was going down the main drag in Tehran, as they say, and suddenly I got this little feeling again down the inside of the thigh. So I thought, well, I have to get some more medicine. Now, the question is that my education is very limited, and I had failed to learn at school, or indeed anywhere else, what you said to an Iranian chemist, which is, you know, excuse me, but I've got this crawling down the inside of my thigh. Do you have a little something? and so I had to go to the chemist and said, excuse me, but so you went into the old mime routine, which is, I see, I went to all this kind of thing. And he said, I said, that's what I want. And he gave it me, and bingo, or words to that effect.
Is the day coming when you and your little friend will think I've done enough jetting about?
Well, my friend, I hope, has decided to give up. I'd be sorry to feel that, actually. I don't see why I should give up yet, while I can sort of stagger around. I mean, there's an awful lot to be seen in the world, isn't there?
Is there?
Yeah. Yes.
I always think of you back at home, if one ever thinks of you back at home, except on very rare occasions, in deepest Suffolk, driving a rusty old Land Rover about. Is that the right image of you?
No, not at all. No, I don't live in deepest Suffolk. I get lost there. I live in Surrey, in West London, as it were. And I don't drive a car at all.
You can't drive?
I can't drive.
It's astonishing.
It's like, well, always one has friends, you know, but I don't actually drive at all. And why do you want to drive in London? You've got perfectly good tubes and buses and stuff.
Yes. As what you might be called Mr. Nature, and of course an environmentalist, have you been asked to help out in the current time with, say, an oil slick?
I've been asked advice about the oil slick, and I'm certainly not expert on dealing with oil slicks. And I don't know what you say with this current disaster, which is a catastrophe. I mean, obviously, it's a major catastrophe. And desperate, because the coral reefs of the Gulf are absolutely stunning. And coral reefs are among the most exciting, thrilling, beautiful places in the world, to my mind. And if anyone wants to be transported into a completely new dimension, just get a snorkel and go over a coral reef. Well, now, all that beauty is being exterminated by this appalling slick. But, of course, people are getting exterminated, too. Human beings are being bombed and burnt and poisoned and blown up. And in these circumstances, where do you turn? I mean, dealing with the oil slick in North America, the Exxon Valdez, I mean, that was difficult enough when you could marshal all the resources of North America and lots of helpers and to go and help rescue these poor, wretched birds. But in the middle of the Gulf, with a war going on and people shooting people, I mean, what do? I don't know. It's just a disaster. I mean, it makes you weep.
To increase the tribe. Last Monday evening on ITV, you might have witnessed the joy at the Savoy when the Evening Standard handed out its British Film Awards. For her performance in The Handmaid's Tale and The Comfort of Strangers, the Best Actress Award went to a young woman whose success seemed preordained. Her father used to bounce her on his knee, chanting, "Movies, movies, movies." Ladies and gentlemen, Natasha Richardson. Well, congratulations. Your first award, I think.
Thank you. Yes, I did get one award before, but it didn't really count because you didn't get a prize for it. It was a magazine critics award. So this is my first proper award, yes.
What about the ceremony? Was that a daunting thing?
Yes, I didn't get the chance to enjoy myself much because I was so nervous about knowing I had to make a speech that I'd just sort of nod and grin inanely when anybody spoke to me. So it was daunting getting up in front of all those people.
We're going to show a moment from The Handmaid's Tale, but this is what, a futuristic thriller?
Yes, it's one of the most difficult subjects to describe, but basically it's set in an imagined futuristic world where a very right-wing, evangelical, phony religious government has taken over. Very few of the women are fertile. The ones that are like prized pigs almost, and they are assigned to the elite of this regime, and I play this woman, Kate, who is assigned to Robert Duvall and Faye Dunaway.
Well, let us see you with Faye Dunaway, who is your master's wife, and she is explaining your duties.
Is this your first placement?
Yes, it is.
Well, here's how it works. I see as little of you as possible. Understand? But if I get trouble, I give trouble back. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
I've read your file. I know you're not stupid. Do you want this job?
Yes, ma'am.
Don't call me ma'am. You're not a Martha. You will sleep here in your own room. But if the commander goes to the front or to the Capitol, you'll go back to sleep at the Red Center. Now, want to ask you one question. Answer from your heart. Do you want a baby? Do you really want one? It won't work if you don't want one. Do you really want to have a baby?
Yes, I do.
That was a very unpleasant scene, really. That film affected you quite deeply, didn't it?
Well, it did, because it's... I don't believe it can happen, but as an imagined, horrifying nightmare world, it's a scary one to inhabit. And just the process of living through that part affected me. And I sort of am one of those people that prides myself that at the end of the day, you can forget about it and maybe think about the work for tomorrow, but that it doesn't really affect you. But it does, and you can't help be affected if you're wearing a sort of slave robe every day, and you almost become a sort of depressed non-human. I mean, I was affected, but then that's my job, and I also enjoyed it too.
It is a horrible vision of the future, isn't it, David?
Well, I suppose it boils down to treating people like animals. And people say, what are the differences between human beings and animals? Well, one is that you don't treat individuals in that inhuman way.
What do you think is the worst threat, apart from certain world leaders at the moment?
I think that we are steadily poisoning the planet, that we are quite unscrupulously knocking down everything that we're inside if we just think it's going to give us an extra buck. The Gulf War is an intolerable war, but we have been damaging the planet pretty seriously before the Gulf War started.
Well, back to your film, and apart from the horrors of the thing itself...
Which is, it's sorry to interrupt, but it does relate to what David was saying, because it's because of all these ecological disasters that women can't have children easily anymore, and that's why...
That's right. You know, I mean, it's not all that futuristic.
Getting more depressed by the second with that scenario. I don't quite see. The film then took its toll, but apart from that, the theme itself, doing various bits of it were fairly tricky. And I mean, love scenes are always tricky. You had to do it with two people.
I wouldn't call that a love scene. I really wouldn't. I had a love scene with Aidan Quinn, and that was fine. I had a very tricky scene to do, and I don't know if we can describe it on television, except that we were all fully clothed, and it was a sort of pseudo-religious ceremony whereby he is the commander, Robert Duvall, is supposed to impregnate me in the presence of his wife. So needless to say, you know, this was a page in the script that whenever I got to it, I'd quickly leaf through and think, no, I'm not going to look at that. I'm not even going to think about it, because it's going to be hard. And we were all very professional and quick about doing it, which is, I think, the only way you can get through something like that. And also not to think, oh, poor me, having to do this. To think about how much more difficult it was for Robert Duvall or for Faye Dunaway, and not feel sorry for yourself because you've agreed to do the job.
As you say, part of the job, but your husband-to-be didn't want you to do it, did he?
No, he didn't. He didn't. When he read that particular scene, and I think he found the whole subject matter disturbing, as a lot of people do, and I think it's particularly hard for men, he finds it hard to differentiate between me, a woman, the person he loves, and me playing a part. So he didn't want to see me in any way humiliated or violated. And I said, well, it's too good a part, I have to do it. And he said he'd leave me, but then he didn't, so that was all right.
Now, of course, you're married to Robert Fox. This means that dynasty meets dynasty, doesn't it?
Is it, are we dynasties? I don't know. We come from two families who work in the same business. So I suppose it means that we have certain things in common.
Did your parents encourage you to act?
I think my father, as you said, age 3, movies, so something went in. My mother, less so. I think she has a healthy disrespect for acting, and maybe would have liked me to be a doctor or something, but I wasn't having any of it. Yeah.
And what about being a vet? I mean, did you ever want to do that when you were a child? Did animals feature in your life?
Well, it's not going to be a very popular thing to say in front of you, but my dad has always been an animal fanatic, and he's always had a huge menagerie of, he had monkeys, macaws, African grey parrots, tropical birds, dogs, you name it. And maybe as a reaction to this, I didn't, not that I hated animals, but I just didn't quite get the point. And I didn't like being taken to the zoo. I thought that was the pits, to go to the zoo. I didn't like nature programs on television. And then it all changed. I mean, growing up, yeah. Growing up and watching programs like yours in my recent years, but really it changed because I was lucky enough to go to Africa, and I went on, albeit a very tame, small little safari for 3 days, and
a photographic safari.
Photographic safari, not shooting, and that for me to see a pride of lions at this kind of distance that we are here, and see those animals and be there, that completely changed my attitude, and in fact I'm planning to go back this September.
A convert?
Yes, a convert, yes.
There is a Richardson Redgrave look, isn't there? Do you get mistaken for each other?
Yes, I think we do occasionally. Not, my sister and I sometimes get mistaken for each other, and then to complicate, I mean, there are so many of us, it does get very confusing for everybody, I think. But I think that to add to the problem, there's Miranda Richardson as well. So people often say to me, oh, I saw you in Dance with a Stranger. I said, no, you didn't. That's Miranda Richardson. Maybe it happens to her too, but we all look so different that I'm surprised.
Well, you and young Dickie look different, but I mean, there must be confusion one way and the other, isn't there, David?
Dick has a story that someone said to him, Mr. Attenborough, we've always admired you for years. Wonderful work you've done, wonderful. And Dick said, thank you very much. And they said, we've always admired you, but when we heard that you were going to take on this film about Gandhi, about Indians and all that, I mean, we did wonder whether, really, you would be able to handle it. But we were reassured, we knew it was all right, as soon as we saw you with those gorillas.
Like Natasha Richardson, he has trod the boards, but I don't think either of them would claim to be one of the Queen Mother's favourite comedians, nor to have become a pop star with a brand new rendition of that old chart topper, Blue Suede Shoes, the latest achievement by the everlasting Frankie Howerd.
Thank you. Oh, I'm in here. Oh, yes. Oh, it's it cold. It's bitter out.
Yeah, bitter. Oh, yes, it's quite nippy in.
Oh, dear, it is, dear. That's a short dress. Oh, we've got some warm knickers. It's bitter out, isn't it? Bitter out tonight. Listen, why? I've been standing outside waiting to come in, to get on.
Well, of course.
Been hours. Frozen.
Sorry.
How are you?
I'm fine, but I wanted to ask...
why, when you... No, I'm sorry. No, I'm awful. Listen, I want to know why every time I appear with you, work with you, you dress the same. Now, I thought I asked your research girl, nice girl Jane, what's he going to wear? Oh, he always wears a dark suit. So I said, I'll wear grey with a red shirt. So what does he wear? Red tie and a grey suit. The same as me. Sorry. Sabotage. Anyway, before we actually start the interrogation, I just want to say, I want to warn everyone. Here you have intellect and beauty here, and from now on the show goes downhill.
It's the nicest suit I've seen you in, I must say.
It's the only one. Hello, don't get vicious now.
You refer to the Richardson limbs. How are your legs?
Oh, you're interested?
Yeah. Not what are they like, but how are they?
How are they? I sprained one, the right one, on Sunday night. And I was poorly. Oh. But it's better now. It's better than it was.
Have they been in good...
Because it's cold weather doesn't help, you know. It's bitter out. It's bitter out, baby.
Have they been in good
He's
hands?
like, he's in a good order. We should go and sit with the audience. Be a godsend. It's very good. You must work together more often, wouldn't you?
Have your legs been in good hands, I was asking.
I've never heard such filth in my life. I'm surprised it's you, Michael. I must say you're looking very well. I tell you, I hope I look as good as you when I get to your age, I'll tell you. I really do. Anyway, continue with the interrogation.
You are not then planning a career in pop?
No. I haven't been asked for a start. No, what you know very well I'm not. There's an organisation which you know of, because you're part of, the Stars Organisation for Spastics. And they've produced a what do they call it, album. And I'm doing a track on the album.
The spoken word of rock and roll?
Yes, spoken word of rock and roll, that's it, exactly. I'm doing blue suede shoes. What are you doing, my blue suede shoes? See, now, Elvis Presley doesn't do it that way. I was like, where are my blue suede shoes?
Petulant, aren't you, really?
Petulant, that's the word.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, you liked it. Have you heard it?
Of course
The
I've
record?
heard it, yes.
Well, I hope it sells well. It's a good cause,
Good
isn't it?
cause.
The
Now,
Spastics.
you're a well-travelled man. I assume you've been
what?
to...
What? You've no idea? Yes, go on.
I've got a very good idea. And I assume you were...
Travelled over whom are you talking about?
Well...
Right, you're stuck for words, aren't you?
No, I'm not.
It could be worse, you know. It could be Oliver Reed, so you ought to be thankful. Yes.
Well, yes. Pompeii is
Yes.
coming back.
Pompeii coming back, well, yes. Well, the video, yes, it is. Videos are being released, or they're escaping next week.
Well, let us now go back to ancient times, to at least
Do.
1970, and here is Lurkio with his famous prologue.
Where's that? Oh. Greetings, citizens, greetings. The prologue. Now, today is a big public holiday in Pompeii, a big public holiday. It is the festival of the Vestal Virgins, or commonly known as VV Day. Now, please, don't mess about. I don't know the tone of it already. Now, VV Day. Now, every year at this time, we choose a maiden from among our womenfolk, a maiden who is pure in mind and body. A maiden upon whose fair skin man's hand has never set foot. I haven't altered much, have I? I haven't altered much, have I, really?
No, it's the same face. It's wonderful. Natasha, did you see those ever?
I do remember.
Do you remember
seeing
those?
I do.
You could have been his handmaiden, couldn't you?
Untouched by hand and foot.
Yes, it was a very, very beautiful handmaid, I must say.
Is there more to come?
Well,
You're doing some...
I'm doing, yes, actually, I'm going to do some for this, your company, the company that you work for.
LWT.
Yes, it might be in this very studio, who knows? Yes, I'm doing that in April.
Of Up Pompeii?
Mm.
Excellent.
Yeah, it won't be quite the same, though.
Lurkio has moved on, has he?
Yes, he has moved on. He's moved on 20 years, actually. I'm not showing my legs now. I did then. Oh, wait, listen, Don. This little skirt on was shorter than yours, down there. And now I'm decided I'm going to wear a toga. So I'm going to go up a bit upmarket.
Yes.
I'm going to have a few slaves of my own. So we're going to sort of, not exactly modern, you can't modernise Pompeii, but we're going to try and sort of do a slightly different version of it.
Great.
Bringing up to date, you see.
I hear you have volunteered for the Gulf.
Oh, pardon? Volunteer for the Gulf, yeah. Well, I did that actually early December. I've heard nothing yet. Yes, I volunteered early December, and I think I'd probably go in when things are, you know, able to cope with me over there, or any artist come to that while things are going on. It's very difficult.
When you entertain troops, do you do anything different?
No, well, you mean, be funny, you mean? I try, Michael, I do try so hard. No, I will, you make local references. For instance, I went, first of all, around North Africa and into Oman, actually, and during the sandstorm we played there with, and I remember once we were going to to see the United Nations troops, and the Nicosia airport was all full of craters. And we went in a coach, and we had with us a beauty queen called Julie Edge, who's a beautiful girl, and Miss Norway. And, well, listen, don't get excited now, don't get raised. First time he's choking his sparkle all night. Anyway, he's the only person I know who can interview and sleep at the same time. Try and concentrate. So you'll be fuddling me now. Anyway, the thing was, we had to go past all these Turkish soldiers who were in trenches with rifles like that, pointing. And they saw us go through, you see. And I was thought to myself, I don't know about this. And so I said to Julie Edge, who was a beautiful girl, she was as beautiful as you were. And I said, you stand up, darling, and we'll sit on the floor. And because she had long blonde hair, and I thought all these soldiers gaped at her, and I thought that'll keep their minds off us. So we laid on the floor, really. There's courage, isn't it? There's courage. Well, look, these soldiers are right in the middle of this battlefield. Then I went over to Borneo.
Here
you waited for that, didn't you?
No, I'm just waiting for you to stop. Here is only so I could show this rare clip of footage here, a view with the lads in the Far East in the 60s.
That's right.
Have you heard this one? It comes into the bedroom after she's been out to a dance. She comes into this bedroom, she calls the butler, James, and she said, James, she said, take off my shoes. Now take off my hat. Now take off my stockings. Now take off my dress, and don't ever wear them again.
One of these tours, we went to an island. Do you know the Isle of Gan? Have you heard of it?
No.
No. He hasn't heard of it.
Was this where there were 600 men and one woman?
Yes, that's right. They were RAF boys. Yeah. And it was a staging post. The woman wasn't an RAF boy. She ran the naffy. There's an island in the middle of the Indian Ocean. And what are you laughing at? I'm trying to be serious. It's so difficult, Michael. I'm not used to being mocked like this. The thing is, there was I went on this island, and it was a beautiful palm. Clever. You are very clever. You are a clever man, very clever. And he does all my stuff, which is very interesting, because, well, you don't actually do it the way I do it. But, I mean, I watched you the other night on television, and how you do it is exactly the same, you know. He's obviously been studying me. True. Which is true.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you were on the other Monday night, so I turned the sound off. I really did. And he was going... Isn't that so?
Absolutely.
And just one last thing. I twisted my knee on Sunday night. I must say this to you. I did thank you, because it was a gloomy Monday. It was cold, bitter out it was. And I was laying there with my foot up. And it was gloomy, and I was feeling down. And then along comes Sir David. So I looked at this, and I suddenly learned something. I got this... Some thought, that's interesting. I never thought of that before. He was explaining why elephants can't jump. Oh, this is extraordinary. I've never wondered before. It never occurred to me why elephants can't jump. I thought this is a marvellous conversation, because if you're in a train carriage and people don't know what to say to each other, or sitting beside somebody in a bus, and you think, oh, excuse me, do you know why elephants can't jump? Isn't that true?
Yes.
It's absolutely true. Why elephants can't jump.
I think I'll call a halt here. We've learned an awful lot tonight. It's time to go home. Thank you very much.
Don't ask me again, you mean?
Not for at least a fortnight. Thanks for your company, Frankie Howerd.
Thank you.
And Natasha Richardson. And Sir David Attenborough. Thanks for your company. See you next week. Good night.